Riley Dean Allen here. Today going to show you how to play that combination by Joe Perry, Brad Whitford, and Aerosmith. One of my all-time favorite Aerosmith deep cuts, sitting at track 4 on their 1976 masterpiece album, Rocks. If you're a casual Aerosmith fan, you may not know this track, but if you're a die-hard Aerosmith fan like I am, you'll know just how great this song is and how great this opening riff is by Joe Perry. So we are tuned down a half step for this tutorial, and here's your tuning. So this opening riff, we're going to be repeating the same thing in E and then moving the whole thing down to A. So it starts with an open E string and then a quick hammer on from 3 to 4 with your index to your middle finger. Then you're going to catch the open A string on the downstroke, open D string on the upstroke. All happening very quickly. You're hitting 5 notes here in the matter of about a half a second. And then dropping right off to an E power chord. Kind of like that, right? You're going to let that E power chord ring for about a half a bar. And then we're into these double stops that we're going to be catching on the upstroke. 5 and 5 of the A and the D, 5 and 4 of the A and the D, and then back to 2 and 2, the E power chord. Catching each one on the upstroke, pedaling off a palm muted open E string. Kind of like that, right? Then we're going to drop the whole thing down to the A and the D string, do the exact same thing. And the G string, I suppose. Drop into A, and then play the double stops, all on the upstroke, 5 and 5, now on the D and the G, 5 and 4, 2 and 2, the A power chord. Right, then we're going to go back to E, repeat this 2 more times, but things are going to change up a little bit now. When you go off to that E power chord after those hammer-ons, you're going to catch that E power chord twice on the upstroke, not let it ring for half a bar. Bam, bam, kind of like that, right? Bam, bam. And then play the double stops again, right? Back down to A, and then catch that A twice on the upstroke. And back to E one final time. This time, you're going to catch that E power chord 3 times on the upstroke. Bam, ba, bam, ba, bam, kind of like that, pedaling off that open E, right? Bam, ba, bam, ba, bam. And then back to the double stops again, right? And now we're going to drop into A, and we're going to stay in A. We're going to repeat the riff 4 times in A for the first verse. Right, and then we drop into what I suppose we can call the pre-chorus. That right there, sliding power chord, starting with a D power chord here, 2-finger power chord, slide it into E, slide it back to D, quick open E string, and then drop into an A power chord, slide it into B, back to A, and then off to a single note G. And then right back off to the open E again. Then you're going to drop back into an E power chord, bounce off the open E string twice, palm muted, then off to D, another quick open E, and then 4 of the A off to 3 of the low E, start the whole thing over again. 4 times. And then the final time, coming off that 4 to 3, we drop back into the main riff in A for the second verse. Right, 4 times. And then we drop into the chorus. That right there, which we're going to repeat twice. Play it, starting it off the same lick, that open hammer on 3 to 4, open D, open G. Then you're going to drop onto a double stop on the 7s of the D and the G, let it ring. Then do the same thing, and then the second time you're going to drop onto a double stop on the 5s. Then you're going to do the same thing and then drop into G. Just drop your index down here on the 2s of the B and the high E along with the open D, open G, right? And then off to A. Right, and repeat. Right, you repeat that twice, and then we drop into the pre-chorus again. 4 times, and then we drop into the chorus again. Right, repeated twice. And that leads into the guitar solo, and just a fantastic guitar solo by Joe Perry on this one. Goes a little something like this. Don't have enough gain. That is the solo right there. Little mistake here and there. So it starts off in A using the blues scale, kind of a mix of major and minor, very typical of Joe Perry. And then we're going to shift off into E about a third of the way through the solo. So there's a little intro to the solo before the solo proper gets underway. So we're here on 8 of the high E, little bend release twice. Back to the natural note and just let it ring, right? Off to 6 of the B, full step bend, little vibrato, and then 5 onto 7 of the G into a full step bend. Slow full step bend into this. Just double stop here on the 5s, B and high E, grab that 7 of the G, little bend, back to the double stop. Right, catching that double stop on the upstring. Right, and then the solo proper gets underway. So that's a little intro. Right, into the solo with that lick right there. All going on the 5s and 7s, starting with a bending double stop here on the 7s, right? Roll up to the 7 of the D, back to the double stop on the 7s, pull it off to 5, back to the 7 of the D. And then a quick little hammer on from 5 to 7 back to 5 of the D. Back to the double stop on the 7s, another bend release off to 5, back to 7, back to 5, right? With a little hammer on 5 to 7, back to 5, right? And then we're into this lick. So 8 of the B string, off to a bar here on the 5s, right up the E and the B string. Right onto the 7 for a half step bend of the high E. Release that bend off to 5, grab that 8 of the B, back off to 5 of the B. Back onto 8. Little bend, back to the 5, back to the 8, off to the 5, right? Right onto another bending double stop on those 7s, pull it off to 5. Right, and at this point the solo shifts off into E for the final 2/3. So that's the beginning of the solo. Right into this. that right there. So just sliding double stops here. Now we're on the 16 of the G, 15 of the B, back it up one spot and slide it back in, right? And then you're going to pick it on the downstroke 2 more times and repeat. Right, just back it up and slide it back in. Right, and then we're going to go off to open B, open E, and do something like that. Open B, open high E, drop onto the 2s, cover both strings with 1 finger and pull it back off again. Right? And then back on, and then you're going to pick it twice. The second time you're going to give it a little bend release and pull it back off to open. Kind of like that, right? It's all very loose. Back to the 16, 15. It's going to finish a little bit differently, but we're going to start it the same way. Back it up, slide it back in, pick it twice. And then you're going to go off to a double stop on the 14s and then off to a double stop on the 12s. G and B, slide out of it. Right? Into this lick. Very much a mix of major and minor going on here. So all on the 9, 11, 12s of the D, G, and B. Starting with a hammer on 9, 11, 12 of the D all in one motion. And then you're going to pick 9, 11, 12 of the G. And then 9, 12, 9, 12 into a full step bend of the B. Kind of like that, right? Back to the double stop here on the 16, 15, pick it twice and slide out of it off to an open G. Into that lick right there. So you're right off to an open G, and then you're going to drop onto the 4 of the G, give it a bend, full step bend, drop your pinky down here on the 5s, cover the 5s of the B and the high E, and ride up the strings. Right, and then you release that off to open, shift everything down 2 frets, and do the exact same thing. So then you drop onto the 2, give that a full step bend, drop your pinky and cover the 3s, right? And then ride up the strings, and then finish with a minor third to major third, open G onto the 1, finish on the 2 of the D. Right? And then we're back into the double stops again. Just pick it, back it up, slide it in. And then we're into that lick right there. Just going right up the blues scale in E, right? 12 onto 15 back to 12. And then 15 off to 12 of the B. And then the blue note there, the flat 5th on the 15 of the G, off to 14, off to 12, back to 14. Kind of like that, right? And then we finish the solo with this. Just like chromatically going up the B string here, starting on the 13 of the B, pulling it off to 10, and then just moving it up 4 frets, right, with a little mute between each shift. Kind of like that. It's all very quick. And then we're going to keep going. We're going to do it 4 more times. Keep moving it up 1 fret at a time. But now the final 4 repeats of this, when we get to the 17 of the B, you're going to pull it off to 14 and grab the 16 of the G. And then chromatically move that up 4 spots. Right? And we finish pulling off 20 off to 17, grabbing the 19 of the G, and then right into a full step bend on that 20 of the B. Right? But it's very, very quick. It's very loose. If you miss a little note here, it's all happening very quick. Just get that kind of feeling going as you're moving up, right? That kind of thing going, right? And then we drop back into the chorus riff for 2 repeats. Right? At this point, when we go off to G, We're going to do that. Everything stops. Double stop on the 7s, G and B. Release it off to 5. Grab that 7 of the D, choke it off. And then we're into the outro. We're going to be repeating the outro riff right until the end of the track, but the very first time they play it, it's a little bit different. It's that right there. So the bending double stops here on the 7s, release it off to 5, back onto 7s, double hit, right? Then pull it off to 5, grab the 7 of the D, back to a double hit on the 5s, move the whole thing up and do the exact same thing. Pulling off 7 off to 5 to the D, grabbing the 7 of the A, and then grabbing a double stop on the 5s of the D and the G. And then open 3/4 A power chord, right? Probably best to catch all these double stops on the upstroke. You know, except the first one. Like that one right there, those double hits, catch them on the upstroke. Catch that one on the upstroke, right? Right, and then we're into the outro riff, which just repeats. That right there, open 3/4, quick jump up here to double stop on the 7s, D and G, hit it twice. Same thing, right? Open 3/4 and then go off to C. We're basically going from C to G, or sorry, D to C to G to A, right? D, C. Then when you go to G, you're just going to hit open D, open G, catch it twice on the upstroke. And then open 3/4 into the A power chord, choke it off, start the whole thing over again. Right, and there's a little bit of soloing going on over top of that or underneath that, but we're not going to get into that. That, my friends, is how you play Combination by Aerosmith. Certainly hope you enjoyed that, found it helpful. If you did, please hit that like button right down there. Maybe drop me a subscribe if you haven't done that already, as that would be very kind. Hope you're well out there in your little guitar corner of the world, wherever that may find you, and we will see you next time. Cheers.